Hi everyone, welcome back to another Swans cast match preview ahead of Swansea against Middlesbrough. Or I should say the other way around, obviously being away, but I'm joined this time by Tom from Boro Breakdown as another car goes flying up the street, always at the worst time. Can't have the windows open these days as well with the heat, so can't even get away from it. Yeah, literally happens every time as soon as I click record, but there we go. So yeah, thanks for joining me, Tom, and I'd like you to... Yeah, that's all right. I'd like you to tell everyone where they can find you and your stuff online.
So I'm from Boro Breakdown Podcast. So we're at Boro_Breakdown on Twitter, I believe, on Facebook, Instagram as well. And we do our own podcasts, which can be found on YouTube, Spotify, Acast, any podcast channel as well.
So if you want to go and check out any pre-match content from the Boro side, go and check out those streams and maybe you can see what they're saying about us. Hopefully it's all nice things, but I'm not so sure the way our season's going so far, but there we are. I guess kind of we're both in the same boat to an extent, but before we get there, let's start at the beginning. So Chris Wilde obviously is manager for you now. Came in, I believe, last November when Neil Warnock left. So this will be his first full season. So how did pre-season go under Wilder? Was there any changes in the squad that are notable to talk about?
So pre-season actually went fairly well, other than a loss against Braga, I think it was, in Portugal, which I don't think you can read too much into pre-season results. But we had a game against Marseille at the Riverside about a week before the season started, which showed some really positive stuff. Decent one-touch football, showed a lot more balance than last year because we were incredibly one-sided last year with Isaiah Jones being our main threat. Now we've got Ryan Giles as well on the left-hand side. And then in terms of transfers as well, it's looked really positive. So we've made 10 so far. We've actually just completed another one today. We've got Matt Clark from Brighton. But it seemed like this pre-season was a lot more kind of like organised than last year. Last year under Warnock, we had it seemed like an absolute kind of tug of war over signings. You had half of them were clearly Warnock signings, like sound like Uche Piazzu, for example. Matt Crooks we thought was, but he's actually playing a fairly pivotal role in Wilder's system as well. And then on the other side of things, you had the sign of Martin Piero. We were after a winger from Holland, Mitchell van Bergen, I think it was. So it seemed like there was two different kind of directions the club wanted to go. And this year it's a lot more kind of like focused on one direction. Wilder's kind of bought into the signings. We did have to wait a fair amount of time for our pre-season signings to really get started. So we sold Jed Spence, which seemed to drag on for absolutely ages. But he went to Spurs. We brought in some good players, some good loan signings as well. Like Marcus Force up front now, Rodrigo Muniz from Fulham on loan earlier this week. As I mentioned, Matt Clark with Darren Lenihan on a free transfer, Zach Steffen on a loan, Ryan Giles on a loan. So some really, really quality players there. And we've only kind of really lost Marcus Tavernier from our starting lineup, who has the most impact. And I say only lost him as well. He was a massive player for us. He's been really difficult to replace. We've signed Alex Moat as a replacement in that in that position, who I think will do well long term. He's only had a couple of games so far, but he's played fairly well in spells there as well. But it's all starting to really take shape now, and I think everyone's kind of like really, really bought into the direction that we want to go.
Yeah, it does seem like you've made some good signings there, and a little bit of envy from perhaps Swans fans who might be listening to some of those names. You didn't, I don't know if you mentioned him, but Zach Steffen as well, coming from Man City as a year on loan. I mean, tied to keep it to in on over the Championship.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's definitely an improvement on Joe Lumley from last season. And I think you can kind of tell where Wilder's trying to go with that system. I think he's trying to replicate what he did at Sheffield United in parts. One thing we did notice about Joe Lumley back end of last season was that he was kind of being instructed to play a sweeper keeper quite a lot, and it's not something we've ever seen him do. And you can tell it wasn't the most comfortable thing for him to do, but he still kind of went along and did it. I'm pretty sure that's what the coaching would have been telling him to do. Zach Steffen's a lot more natural at that though, and also kind of playing out from the back. Obviously, signing from Man City, I hope he's going to end up being like Edison, but he's not quite that good. But he's very, very calm on the ball, I would say, and he's made a few decent saves so far. One thing I would say about him is he probably needs to adapt to the physicality of the Championship a little bit. There are a couple of, there's one at QPR where we got to push in the back and miss the ball, and they scored off a corner. I can't remember who the other one was. Oh, it was Stoke last week, midweek. There was a goal ruled out for, I believe it was Dwight Gale jumping into him. But even before that, it was like, oh, is he going to catch the ball or not there under pressure? So I'd say that's probably the only kind of weakness he's got at the moment. Hopefully he can work on that. But I think in terms of having a natural sweeper keeper there and someone who can distribute, Zach Steffen's been exactly what we needed.
Yeah, looks like maybe the long-term plan is looking a bit up for you, but the short-term has seen maybe a start of the season that you could deem poor. But we're in the same boat, so don't get me wrong. But 3 draws and 2 losses, I believe, so you're on 3 points. A little bit of a slow start, but I don't personally think, from my point of view, maybe you got something different to say, that you maybe haven't got that much to worry about yet. Early days, just gelling the new guys in, and it's going to click soon. But maybe we can get your take on the start of the season.
Yeah, I'd kind of agree with that. I think it is early days. I think you look down the bottom of the Championship and how it has been the last couple of game weeks. Boro have been down there. I think Swansea down there as well.
Yeah, we are down there. Norwich were as well.
Norwich as well, yeah. So I was looking at that and thinking these teams aren't going to be down there at the bottom of the season. We don't really have too much to worry about. And I think we've played some good football in a lot of games. There have been games that I think we've deserved to win had we put the chances away, which I think is just where we've struggled. There was a bit of a stat going around before last weekend's game, I think it was, that Boro were actually the highest in XG in the Championship at that point, but also we were the highest goal scorers and also the highest goals conceded. So it just seems like keeping them out at the back was the area we were struggling with, but also it's a surprise to me that we were highest goal scorers because we've missed some great chances as well, and there's been a couple of games where we've had chances hit the post and stuff. So we could have been in a much more comfortable position now. I think if we're a little bit more clinical and also just a little bit stronger at the back. There's been a few goals really where you're just looking at them thinking, how did we concede that? So I think that's the main area we need to work on, and I think as soon as that clicks, we should be looking more at the other end of the table.
So it's interesting to say that because I looked at XG and stuff last night. I was looking based on some comments on our videos, but I've had a look at Middlesbrough as well just to get the grasp of what is going on, and it is definitely. If you look at these sort of stats on paper, the league table perhaps isn't matching up correctly yet. You apparently have made the most clear-cut chances. However, that's deemed a no clear-cut chances is such a blanket thing and opinionated statement. But whatever I was looking at was saying you'd made 12, and compared to our 4, doesn't surprise me our end. But also your XG currently is apparently 1.63, which puts you 6th in the table. Now, I know you said you were top perhaps last week, but some of the clubs that have gone ahead are like Norwich, West Brom, Sheffield. I think they all had good games in the last week, so they've probably gone ahead just on the basis of that. But 1.63, 6th in the table, that does not highlight where you are in the league table. But even us, we're on 1.47. That actually shocks me. But we have missed 1 or 2 sitters, as you've said. And looking at the XG against, again, your defence maybe isn't as bad on, by the stats here as perhaps what it's looking like in the table. It's one of them in there where sometimes there's a chance, and it might not be the clear-cut chance, but it goes in the net and all of a sudden it's a bad result. But you've got 1.3 goals against and a 16th in the table. So, that's good. You're on the good end of that. Ours is a bit higher, 1.31. But one of them things perhaps where time will tell who the proper teams that are going to end up doing well are. And going into this game against you on the weekend as a Swans fan, looking at the table, you think, they haven't won a game. We need to capitalise on this. But I'm not that confident whatsoever making a statement like that, because I've seen the quality you've got in your squad. You score in 7 goals. I feel like our defence can be a little bit suspect at times. And I think Wilder's system could definitely be something that exploits us as well if he gets it right on the day. So a little bit nervous going into the game, I'll be honest, because we're not in the best form. The atmosphere around the fans is not amazing in Swansea. I'm not sure how much of that you see from other fan groups, but let's have a look at the game then. So from a Middlesbrough perspective, if you could pick out 1 or 2 key players that Swansea fans should watch out for, who would you say we need to keep an eye on?
It's a little bit difficult to say at the moment because, as you say, I think a lot of the team's still gelling. I think our 2 kind of dangerous areas of the pitch are wing backs, so Isaiah Jones and Ryan Giles. You mentioned there about the chance creation. I would think that they would make up about 3/4 of that.
I think Ryan Giles was near the top of the individual, individual stats.
He's an absolute wonder of a left foot. And, his crossing in the first, 5-6 games or whatever, I think it's 5 games, has just been absolutely phenomenal. I think we've just missed someone getting on the end of most of them, which hopefully, Rodrigo Muniz might do if we're looking at maybe corners. And Matt Crooks might be playing Lenihan, Matt Clark. We do look a little bit more threatening from corners now. So I would say the wing backs are the 2 main areas, but I think the rest of the team, it's settling, really trying to find who is playing what position. In our defensive line, we had Mark Bowler, who's a left back / left wing back, playing left centre back, where Matt Clark's going to be. We've had chopping and changing at right centre back as well, and both of those wide centre back positions are areas that we do need to kind of bring the ball out from the back. So I think Matt Clark will do that, and I think it really depends on who's going to be right centre-back as well, which I think should be Paddy McNair. It's either him or Dykesdale, but they're both good on the ball as well. So in terms of that, I'd expect to see differences in that this weekend. Maybe a little bit of danger from those positions, and I think midfield's just starting to get settled as well. But I don't think we're ever going to really have a settled strike force based on what we saw last season. There was a lot of rotation.
Well, mixing it up sometimes makes it harder to sort of anticipate how to prepare and defend against it, maybe. But we'll see what happens. But okay, so from a Swansea perspective, when you look at our team, is there anyone that stands out that could cause you problems or you're a little bit worried about?
I always look at the strike force from Swansea in jealousy, really. Just wish we had those players. Michael Obafemi and Joel Perreault both really impressed me, especially in the games last season. I think both times Boro played Swansea last season, really enjoyed watching those games. I thought, if you were watching that as a neutral, I think both teams kind of like complement each other quite well in terms of, putting on an entertaining game. But I just remember the game at the Riverside. Joel Perreault had one cleared off the line. And it was going to be such a good finish as well. So definitely the strike force are 2 areas of Swansea's lineup where I look at and a bit worried about them.
Yeah, we're hoping that it's not going to be like Joel Perreault's last game for us. It's still up in the air about speculation about his state of the club. Basically, we can't sign anyone unless we sell, and he's the one name that keeps popping up. I mean, you can see why, but we can't get him in the game at the moment. Actually, this season, he's not scored a goal in the league. He's looked a bit out of sorts, so if he does stay, the quicker the transfer window shuts, the better. Obafemi has scored. He's missed a couple of sitters as well. So they haven't showed the form perhaps you saw of him last season, but obviously the potential is always there for it to just click, and we will be hoping that it is this weekend that does happen. Okay then, so do you want to put your neck on the line and chuck a score prediction out there?
Yeah, so I think my prediction that I put on our podcast on Sunday was 2-1, and I'll stick with that. I think if we do get a win to kind of get us off the mark, I don't see us keeping a clean sheet at the moment. I think it would be in spite of conceding a goal. So yeah, I'll go with I'll stick with me 2-1.
It's difficult because part of me, I want to say a loss, but then I know last time we had a full week off after a bad performance, they did show up. But it's tricky because we like to give teams their first win. We gave Luton theirs the other day, so I'm gonna say 2-2 draw, and I think it'll be a good point for us. But I'm nervous that I've just put my neck on the line because I don't know if I can see us scoring 2 goals. But I'm gonna say it 2-2. Maybe Capurro will get his goal and Obafemi can join him, and it could be the start of the season, perhaps. Who knows? But you will see what happens. Thanks for joining me. I hope
no problem.
Good luck for you and the rest of the season after Saturday.
You too.
Not too much like Saturday, but I think your team looks good. Wilder, good coach. So I would be shocked if I don't see you near or there or thereabouts the playoffs by the end of the season. I think it's early days to call, and to be honest, you're only like 2 wins away from being there at the moment. That's how tight the league is. So yeah, fingers crossed for you.
Yeah, same. I mean, Swansea were one of my picks in the pre-season podcast that we did for the playoffs. So I'd say pretty similar. I enjoy watching you guys play, and I'd be shocked if you weren't kind of far higher up the table by the end of it.
I do hope so. We're in a bit of a rut we need to get out of, and that's including the fans. Like I said, the fans, the way they are at the moment with the team, and it's justified. I'm not going to go with the fans, but something needs to change at the moment for us to get there, I think. But hopefully we'll both be there. I never know. Maybe we meet in Wembley in a couple of months' time. But yeah, thanks for joining me, and
cheers.
Maybe speak to you again later in the season.
Cool. Sounds good.